Good morning, and it's just about good morning. Thank you for yet another opportunity to be in front of you to talk about publish or perish, which is one part, and what reviewers really want. I really don't know what it is about that they rarely say. First disclaimer is I have been trying to convince Dr. Palash Kumar, that give me a topic which is there in my bank. But for the last 7 or 8 years, he has been successful in failing my bank. Anyway, the agenda that we have for today is first figure out why we need to publish, then figure out how to publish, what topic do you choose, is it publishable, is it relevant, what methodology and the scientific rigor that you need to go through, how to get valid results and represent them, internal inputs, which is whatever. Why publish? The first thing that comes in is that it will develop, especially amongst the junior colleagues, a critical thinking skill, which will move beyond memorization, critically evaluate literature, and be a safe and evidence-based practitioner. It will enhance you. A publication is a significant differentiator and maybe the key which will clinch whether you get a particular post or a position when you are applying for. Improves your scientific communication, and this could be the thing that helps you get invitations to conferences, etc., and collaborative work. For a more senior personnel, this is your credibility and authority. A publication validates what you're thinking and enhances your reputation. Unfortunately, it is today looked upon as something which is just for promotion and academic advancement as a mandatory requirement, whereas it should ideally be that something that shapes your clinical practice and policy, which is what should be the significant impact. It could help in mentorship and recruitment and publication. These are the three basic tenets that could be that it fills in a gap in knowledge. That's why we read publications, improves your way you treat patients, and then therefore fosters a culture of inquiry and as a model behavior. So how to publish? It has to begin with whether you have an idea, whether you are working on a project. How original is this idea? Is it addressing a gap in knowledge that is already existing? Is this something that you can do? Is it feasible? Is it feasible logistically? Is it feasible ethically? Do I have the resources to do this work that I'm thinking of? Do I have the time to devote to do this work that I'm thinking of? And finally, when I want to publish, does it fit into a particular journal? That's called the journal fit. To get an idea, whether you like it or not, the bottom line is that you need to be knowledgeable, you need to read. This is Ryan Meldrum tells you how to generate ideas for publication. And when you have a thought in mind, how do you frame that thought? Go by the PICO guideline. You have the population that you're looking for. What is the intervention? Is it a multimodal analgesia? What are you comparing it against? Opioids alone, and what is the outcome that you're looking for, whether it's recovery or whatever, mortality, morbidity. Checking for gaps in knowledge is you will have to go through systematic literature, and today there are enough resources. There is Scopus, there is the Web of Science, there is Lens, and now this is something that I discovered recently, the WOS Viewer, which is a software tool for constructing and visualizing bibliometric networks. And then you can have articles like this, which tells you that over the last 10 years, what has been the focus areas. And therefore, if you look at lacuna that is there in literature, and if you want to still use tools, you can use like the James-Lind Alliance, look for anesthesia, look for what is the 10 most common research, and then you think whether I can manipulate around this area and have an idea that can fit in for a publication. This is one important thing. You cannot have something which already people have published, which is very unlikely that it will go in for publications. Once you have this research idea, and if this is an original research idea that you think, and you're trying to do a hypothesis testing and establishing a causal relationship then you will have to embark on a randomized controlled trial. Unfortunately, a randomized RCT will require very robust methods. If you're just looking at association relationships, then you might look for lesser tires like an observational study. Once you have decided that I'm going to go for an RCT, now there are enough tools which are there in all journals as to how you go about the methodology and then report it. Adhere to standards, report according to the consort, reduce the bias, and describe the methods for reproducibility. There is enough literature now to look into. This is like whether you're going in for a very fundamental understanding or just a socially useful, looking for the Louis Pasteur quadrant. That's something which is fundamentally useful as well as socially relevant. Go through the equator sites. There are enough resources. There are the consort 25 statements will be there, which looks into the guidelines. Go through the flow charts. Figure out when you're starting your methodology whether I'm going through the consort guidelines or not. Go through the spirit timelines when you're registering so that you are in sync with what is expected from journals that you are trying to send this article to. There would be Strobe, there are Prisma, there is also the CARE 23 if you want to look through when you're reporting for reports. Anticipate ethical issues. All good journals will try to ensure that you have maintained the ethics of publication, the ethics of doing a clinical research. Enough, again, publications to go through to figure out what is expected out of you. Outer ethics, whether you are compliant enough with the regulatory bodies, of course your institutional bodies, whether you're taking consent, whether you're addressing privacy, whether you have conflicts to disclose, like whether there has been sources of funding, everything needs to be on board before even you embark on the study and then think about this. Registration of trials is completely mandatory now. No good journals will take in a trial which has not been registered with a regulatory body like the CTRI. How many of you have at least an ID in CTRI? That's very good. That's a pleasant thing to see. If those of you have not and you're thinking of publication, please go home and do this. One of the take-home messages that get yourself at least registered with CTRI, and when you're thinking of a trial, ensure that the trial is registered with the CTRI. Then is whether this is statistically appropriate, whether the therapy that you are asking, is it RCT or in the hierarchy of evidence, where are you putting this trial in, whether it is an RCT or just a cohort, and that also will decide whether how likely it is going to get published. Is it powered enough to detect differences? That is when you need to know what are the type 1 errors and type 2 errors. And it is very unlikely, and this is what reviewers will pick up, if it is an underpowered study or not. Reporting, this is again, do you just look into the means and medians or you look into CIs? If you look at, again, good journals, they will just not rely on the mean and median. Are you looking at the confidence intervals, because these are more valued today, because this is gives you an idea about the precision and the clinical significance of the trial that you are reporting. So ensure that you have an idea about relative risks, odds ratio, and also this again reviewers will pick up whether there has been a bias control. Not only have you just done blinding and randomization, but have you taken the pain to see that there is allocation concealment, whether it is through SNOs or it is through a centralized randomization or just even pharmacy controlled randomization. So even the researcher does not know how the randomized process and which person is going to which group. What kind of statistical methods are you using? What data do you have? Is it a normally distributed data? Is it a continuous data? Is it a categorical data? How many groups are you analyzing? And that will decide in which tests you are employing. Again, you see to it that you're using appropriate tests. It's not very difficult for reviewers to pick this up as well. One of the rules of thumb is check for your data. Is it normally distributed? If it is normally distributed, use a more powerful statistical loop which looks into the parametric data. this is one good caveat is like when you are reporting p-values, just don't say it is less than 0.05 or greater than 0.05. Give the actual values. And again, to reiterate, give the confidence intervals as well. And again, avoid p-hacking. I'll just take a couple of minutes more. That is, don't report only the P's that are suitable for you, and not reporting the P's that are not. Manuscript writing, I think this is possibly easier because the guidelines are out there. You follow the IMRAT protocol, look at what is the requisition for the particular journal, the number of words, discussions, conclusion, what references, the type of tables and figures that they want, word limits, the guidelines, again, going by, again, the consort guidelines, the preparation of the files that you need to prepare, and don't give a reference in a non-Vancouver when the journal is asking you for a Vancouver, and use Grammarly. It's at least the first thing that you do for a plat check before you even send it for publication. The reviewer will essentially go through what I described so far, the clarity and structure, and this is a huge thing, is relevance and originality. So which is what I was trying to reiterate right in the beginning. Is this something worth going in for publication in this particular journal? And the logical consistency that you have, acknowledging your limitations and avoiding overstatements. If it's just an association relationship, don't try to establish a causal relationship. The editor then looks for how good you have been in responding to reviewers. And if you think RCTs are becoming too big, think of starting small beginnings, letters to the editor, case series, case reports. And even then you have things like the care checklist to go through when you're reporting just case reports. And there are now enough in your own journal, IJ, if you want to read more. This is a lovely editorial from Rakesh, the previous editor of IJ, and also from Dr. Bajwa as to how to prepare manuscripts. So please go through it, and you need to publish and therefore not perish. And unfortunately, nothing comes without hard work. Ideas also come with hard work. So read extensively to get in new ideas. Plan meticulously what you want to do, how you want to do it, RCT or an observational study. Data, again, how are you going to represent the data? A few things like, as I keep mentioning, that use confidence intervals, definitely when you're representing data. And please, please, please register your trial with CTRI. Very unlikely that a good quality journal will take in anything that has not been registered with CTRI or wherever. And follow the guidelines, consort or whichever you are wanting to follow when you are writing the manuscript. Finally, I will finish saying that it is extremely addictive, and this is an addiction which is not a bad thing to get into. It's a huge dope to see your name on paper, to see your thoughts on paper, and then somebody following what you have done is a great thing to go ahead. Thank you very much for hearing me out on this.
Thank you.